Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Abby and I like to talk about spooky things. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 25 terrifying TikToks. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, click the subscribe button down below, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I post Sundays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. And without further ado, let's get right on into the video. First TikToks by the user Jenna Fairbanks.
A story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I have like massive hesitation in telling this because I have tried so many times and the TV just glitched out. I have no idea why. It wasn't on and and I'm officially creeped out. Anyway, this is a story from like probably 7 years ago, back when my daughter was like 2. We lived in an apartment and she's always been like pretty sensitive to things. Like she sees more things than I do, and I see my fair share of things, and I've had my share of experiences, but she's like way more sensitive, especially around this time in her life. But anyways, we were living in this apartment and it had been a really rough year, and she had just recently been moved into her own room from our room, and she never had like difficulty, like I never had difficulty putting her down to bed or naps or anything like that, which is why I second guessed her story. But she would always talk about how there was a dragon in her room. And it always confused me because I was like, what do you mean a dragon? Like, what does it look like? And all of this stuff. And one day she was just really freaking out about it. Like freaking out. And I'm cleaning the bathroom and she comes in there and she's a mess. And she's sobbing and telling me in her, you know, her own 2-year-old words, like, there's a dragon in my room. It's here. It's chasing me. It's coming for me. And I'm just like, and she's looking at it. She's looking back at the door like there's something there. And so I sit down on top of the toilet lid and I'm just like holding her and she's crying. And she turns back around and then she screams and flings herself back into my arms like something lunged at her. This thing that only she could see. When I tell you, every hair stood up on the back of my neck and I rebuked that thing so hard. Y'all, I was terrified. But at the same time, trying not to let my fear affect her because she's already scared and I don't want my fear to feed into whatever is going on here. So anyways, I rebuke the thing and I pray over her and I pray over the house. And we never hear about Mr. Dragon again. So yeah, I have no idea what was living there, but that wasn't the only weird experience I had in that house with my daughter. We were alone a lot, but she told me twice that I was pregnant. The first time, she said, "I can't wait to meet my baby sibling," and I was like, "What?" And it occurred to me that it had been a while since I had my period. So I was like, ooh, you know what? I think that might be due soon. I should probably take a test tomorrow. And I did. And it was a very faint positive. And I just had this feeling like, I think I'm going to lose this baby. Apparently she had the same feeling too, because I only knew for like a week before I lost this baby. But I was in the middle of exercising in the living room and she comes crawling up and she climbs on the chair and she goes, "Mom, the baby is sad. It's leaving now." And when I tell you, I felt something depart from it. I knew in that instant that baby was gone. I miscarried the next day. Ended up having to go to the hospital. That's a whole different story. But she was right. She was completely right. And then about 9 months later, I got pregnant again with her brother. And her oldest brother. And she comes up to me while I'm peeing. Once again, like, why are we having these meetings on the toilet? But she comes up to me while I'm peeing. She goes, "You're going to get pregnant so soon." Dang it if that girl wasn't exactly right. 2-3 weeks later, I'm pregnant again. Like, this child. The house we live in now, she sees a shadow person occasionally. We try to stay on top of it, my husband and I, especially when he pops up more often. We pray together, but I also pray separately, just very aggressively to keep this thing away when it starts popping up. But after the eclipse, this shadow person started popping up, and I kind of started seeing him too. And that's when I was like, no, we done. But yeah, that was one of the first things she saw when we moved into the house, was this shadow figure go whoosh. She called it a whoosh, and it went across the bathroom. And I thought that was weird because I smelled like occasionally I'll smell this musty, almost like stale cigarette smell down there. None of us are smokers. None of us know any smokers, associate with any that would be in our house or anything like that. So it's not residual from anything. It just like occasionally I'll smell it, and this shadow figure will start to pop up again. So I don't know. I don't really know enough about the history of the house and who all has lived there to know if maybe a smoker lived there before. No idea, but it does happen. Other things that I've experienced in that house are several times. Anytime I've like slept on the couch, it seems like I have experiences, or, you know, like not every time, but like I only seem to have experiences there. I had it where I was asleep and I felt something pushing down on the couch around my feet, and I look down expecting to see my then 4-year-old like climbing into bed with me or something like that, because it felt so real. It literally felt like something was climbing around my feet, and I looked down and there's nothing there. That was significantly more terrifying. I've also heard like giggling in one ear and like laughing, like kids laughing. And then I had somebody whisper something in my ear while I was trying to sleep. And then I've had like a couple weird dreams there. One involving like a serpent. I don't have any explanation for it. It's just, it sometimes happens and I have to pray really aggressively for it to go away. Now, like I've had a lot of experiences, and my husband has had some as well. Not just in the house, but in life in general. I can tell those stories if y'all want, but they're fairly short. And they're just kind of creepy. But yeah, that's only been in the last like 7 years.
Her daughter is definitely incredibly intuitive. I mean, predicting not only 2 pregnancies, but also a miscarriage at such a young age where you don't really understand the concept of either of those things is pretty impressive. It seems like her daughter is just very, very in tune from such a young age.
Okay, I've tried to stitch the story multiple times to the original video, and for some reason, every time I do it, there's no sound on my end. So I'm going to try again. On my original video, there were a few people who responded that they would be interested in hearing more stories about the house that I grew up in. I'm sorry, I think I have a dog hair or something. Anyways, so there are very few stories that I actually remember. It's been like 20 years since I lived in that house, and so really only the really significant things, or the really memorable, the big things, are things that I remember at this point. And so I think this is a fairly good one. So when we moved in our house, one of the things that you need to know is the driveway was on the far right side of the house. And so it was like driveway, and then there was an enclosed garage, and off of the enclosed garage was the actual house with the living room, and then directly in front of it, the kitchen. And then as you keep going through the house, there was a hallway, and off that hallway were a lot of bedrooms, but also was an entryway in the front door to the house. The reason why I'm telling you that is because that was a lot of house to have to walk past in order to get to the front door. So most people typically used the door off of the garage to come in, or the back door, because people who come over to your house typically know you, and so they knew us and they knew which entry points to gain access from. Anyways, so shortly after moving in, this is my dog Minnie, and she likes ghost stories apparently. Shortly after moving in, the doorbell would go off randomly. And at first, we would go and respond to the doorbell going off. And every time, no one would be there. So fairly quickly, I think my parents came to the realization that maybe there could be some faulty wiring or that the doorbell was bad. I think they even said at one point in time that maybe spiders had gotten into the system and were making it go off randomly. And so there wasn't really a lot of concern around the fact that the doorbell would go off randomly. So, cut to, I don't know how long we had been living in the house, but myself, my brother, my stepdad, and my mom were all in the living room just hanging out, talking. And my mom had just come from the kitchen and had made a pitcher of sweet tea and placed it in the middle of the counter for all of us to go in and get a drink if we're thirsty, when we're thirsty. She had just kind of left it out for us to drink randomly. And so we're sitting in the living room. This is Stanley. He also really likes ghost stories. And he'll probably hog the camera because he really likes attention. Anyways, Stanley, no. Anyways, so we're all sitting in the living room and the doorbell goes off. By this point, once again, none of us were really concerned about the doorbell going off. And so, sorry about the dog bark. So we didn't respond. We continued talking or doing whatever it was that we were doing. And so a few minutes later, the doorbell went off again. And once again, none of us responded to it because we just figured that there was something wrong with it. And so a few minutes later, after it rang for the second time, we heard a crash in the kitchen. And so my mom kind of runs in there to look, and she sees that the pitcher of sweet tea is on the ground, like almost like someone pushed it off the counter or swatted it off the counter, like it's on the ground. And she left it in the middle of the counter. So there was we didn't have like cats, and there were like no rats or anything in our house. No one was there to push it off of the countertop. And so we were pretty creeped out at that point and kind of started to realize that maybe there was something that was ringing the doorbell, and when we no longer were responding to it, got frustrated and let us know that they were upset. And so that's my story about my haunted house and how my ghost really didn't like sweet tea.
I think it's really scary that it seems like the ghost was upset that they weren't acknowledging it anymore when it would ring the doorbell, and so it physically entered the home and destroyed something by like pushing the sweet tea off the counter. It doesn't seem like things got worse after that, but that seems like something that would happen when things are about to ramp up, like it gets frustrated and annoyed with you and is, I don't know, going to do something dangerous or extra scary. I feel like something like that seems like it would happen when it's a turning point and activity's about to ramp up or something. I think that would be a really scary moment to experience the ghost, like you're ignoring it, and it decides to do something crazy and out of the ordinary because of that. Our next TikTok spooky user, newblooduniverse.
Want to get creeped out? Let's do a paranormal story time. My mom and my biological dad divorced when I was like 2 years old. So I grew up spending most time at my mom's, but going to my biological dad's house every second weekend. My biological dad lived with my stepmom and a bunch of family in a house that was very haunted. And I will get into the stories from that house too, but I want to actually start with the paranormal stories of the stuff that would happen at my mom and dad's, where me and my sisters and my mom mom and my dad lived. We moved into the house when I was around 11 years old, and right off the bat, there were some strange things. A family lived there before us, and the father had passed away very tragically in an accident, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the haunting things that we experienced, but we also found recordings and weird things in the ceiling of the basement, specifically in the room that I stayed in after we moved in. I couldn't tell you what was found in the ceiling. I should probably ask my parents, but I know it was kind of weird. Apart from like hearing noises and weird things, I remember the first really paranormal, strange thing that happened to me in that house. I think I was probably around 13 or 14. You may or may not know that I'm afraid of the dark, and I always have been. So I would always leave the bathroom light on in the basement and then sleep with my bedroom door open and use the bathroom light kind of as a nightlight. I remember one night I'm in the bathroom, I'm getting ready for bed, I leave the bathroom light on, go into my bedroom, turn off the light, and it's pitch black. The bathroom light isn't on, and I'm thinking to myself, I could have sworn I left that on. Maybe I'm not thinking that right at the second that it's pitch black. Right at the second that it turns pitch black, I'm freaking out because I'm afraid of the dark. So I'm turning my light back on as fast as I can. But I'm thinking to myself, I thought I left it on. Clearly I didn't. So I go, turn on the bathroom light, walk back to my bedroom, turn off my bedroom light. It's pitch black again. Turn on my light, and now I'm like, what the heck? Like, I literally just went to the bathroom to turn the light on. That was the purpose of me going over there. But still in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe I didn't. Like, maybe I accidentally turned it off. I walk back to the bathroom, turn on the bathroom light, walk a little ways away from the bathroom. I'm looking at the bathroom, and the light is on. I'm like, that light is on. I know it's on. I'm looking at it. I walk back to my bedroom, turn off my bedroom light. It's pitch black again. When I tell you that I was my pants, I was terrified. I definitely wound up going upstairs and sleeping in my sister's bed that night with her because I was so freaked out. The next day, I'm telling my mom what happened, and my mom isn't really one to believe in the paranormal. But I was so scared that she actually believed me that something happened. She actually looked through our house looking for a human, like hiding in our house, because she doesn't believe in the paranormal, but I was so adamant and I was so afraid that she thought like there must be someone in the house. There was no one in the house. A few weeks later, I'm babysitting my sisters, and the intrusion alarm goes off in the house. Terrifies us all, because immediately we're like, oh my God, someone's trying to break in. I check all the windows, I check all the doors. No one has tried to break into the house. I reset the alarm, and I think the alarm actually ends up going off a second time. It's a long time ago that this happened, but I'm pretty sure. My sisters and I are sitting on the couch, and we're all scared. And of course, I had told my sisters and my mom about the light going off downstairs. I probably freaked out my poor sisters from telling that story, so we're all kind of freaked out, waiting for something to happen. My parents had this cabinet that was kind of like open. It held wine glasses in it, and I shit you not, one of the wine glasses flies off of that cabinet and lands on the ground. My sisters and I are all like, what the actual? And it doesn't land like laying down, like it lands straight up. But we were kids, so no one believed us. Anyways, that's it for this one, but stay tuned because I've got more stories about this house.
This sounds like something I experienced, although what I experienced wasn't paranormal. But my washing machine broke, and I put in like a dirty makeup bag to wash it. And I washed it, and nothing happened. And I was like, oh, maybe I forgot to start the washer. Maybe I forgot to put detergent in. And so I washed it again. And I was like, huh, nothing happened. Maybe I forgot to wash it. Maybe I forgot to put detergent in. And so I did it a third time. And this time I was like, I have to remember it. Like, then I'm turning the washer on, and I'm putting detergent in. And a third time, nothing happened. And I was like, oh, okay, my washing machine's just broken. Now that is horrifying for a different reason, because then you have to get maintenance involved, and it's just annoying process, but not paranormal. This, however, it's like, it's funny because both of them are similar in regular and paranormal ways, that it's just like you're gaslighting yourself, like, did I do this? Like, I had to have done this. And then you do it again, and you're like, did I? It's like you're second guessing yourself, when in reality it's just a broken washing machine and a ghost. Our next tip talks about the user finding fluency.
I'm at my second job a little bit early today, and I thought it'd be a good time to tell you guys about a haunting, because I know that people love story times, and it'd be a great way to teach you a few words in English. So we have the word haunt. So that means when a place is occupied by a ghost. locker room. That's important. So that's a place where you get changed in a gym. And I think that those are good for now. And ghost, if you don't know it. About 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago now, I had moved back from California and I was working in a day spa at the Mystic Marriott in Connecticut. And, I was working there and I was always a little bit creeped out by being there early. So sometimes I would have to get there around 6 in the morning because the spa would actually open at 7 and start letting people in to get massages and all those wonderful things. So I'm all alone and I'm opening up this spa and I go to the locker room, which is where we get changed. So it's all made of marble. Not we get changed, like the patrons get changed in order to go get their massage or whatever they're doing, massage, facial, etc. So I go in there and I am just tidying up, making sure that there are no clothes left in the laundry hampers. So that's the place where you put clothes after you're done with them and they're dirty. And mind you, it's 6 in the morning. I think it was winter. I'm not quite sure what month it was, but nothing had opened yet. There shouldn't be anybody in the locker room. So I'm just going around doing my thing, tidying up, and all of a sudden I start to hear like footsteps. So it sounds like somebody is in there with me. And I go, hello? Hello? And nobody answered. Then I hear the door open and close as if someone walked out in order to go to the hotel side. So I end up telling one of my coworkers about this incident and say, hey, could somebody from the hotel have come over to go to the pool early in the morning? And she said, no, this place is haunted. There are a ton of stories.
I love how they're like, oh no, it's just a ghost. Like no one beat around the bush. No one was like, well, you know, it's like, nope, that was a ghost. I don't know, I feel like locker rooms are kind of like creepy to begin with, and then when you find out that the locker room's actually haunted or there's a ghost in the locker room, I think it would make it worse. Like there's just something about locker rooms that I find are like creepy. Maybe I've seen one too many like horror movies and like Teen Wolf where there's like your locker slam when you think you're in there alone and then someone attacks you. Maybe locker rooms aren't actually scary, it's just a bias based on the content I consume. Our next TikTok's by the user, Chelmore.
Do you want to use a pink color for the flowers? Do you want me to color all the flowers pink? Or just a few flowers? Or just one? Just one? Which one do you want me to color pink? You want me to color this one? I'll point at a flower with this crayon, and when you want me to color that one pink, just ding the bell. That one? Okay.
This is a great video. It's clearly a very intelligent spirit because it's responding to her questions appropriately, timely, and I think it's kind of fun. I mean, it's like a paint by number with a ghost. Like, I mentioned this a few times, but I went to the Roosevelt Hotel with my friends and I did an investigation and he did a ghost picks my makeup video with dowsing rods. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's like an interactive thing where a ghost like helps you pick your makeup or helps pick the colors for this coloring book. And I think it's so fun when you're able to interact with spirits in that way that it's like you get to do something together and it's not creepy. And also, I feel like it might be nice for the ghosts because it's like they can participate in something again instead of like regular ghostly activities. The next 8 TikToks are by the user schwamahama.
In the stairwell. But this is where we found the hidden ring, is it not?
No, we found it from the
6th floor?
the 3rd floor, 4th. It was down more. This thing is spiking like crazy. This thing just went red, bro. What the fuck?
Oh, look, there's a Sears tower.
Really?
Yeah.
This thing just spiked red as fuck. Oh yeah, dude.
I feel like in this room it will because of all the elevator and the electric
Yeah.
stuff.
Hey, if anyone's here, feel free to say hello.
Fred.
Hello? I heard a hello.
Frederick. Is that you?
I think I heard you say hello, man. How are you doing?
Mr. Frederick Hay? Are you still here?
Is anyone here? I wonder if these elevators even work. Can you tell us where we need to go? Yeah, I've never been this far into here. Anyone in here with us? I'm too scared of figuring. Like, where would this door even go, dude? There's no doorknob. It's just a blocked door. This is creepy as shit, dude. I wonder what's in there so bad.
I don't know if we can. There's shit in front of there. You can look in the hole. There's like a bunch of like
Oh, yeah.
like bed sheets.
Dude. So you can see the foundation of the building, all the old floor tiles. Like, this is from like back in like the 1940s.
No,
Or, like 1890s. Holy
1890s.
fuck. That is old.
There's not much in here.
Dude, what the fuck? Holy shit. This is so creepy. There's like a light on in that room. That's just such an old ladder. Like, it's like a bunch of old cafeteria trays. We got busted.
I found out about Adele Langer and her 2 kids. And I found an article from this week.
There you go, right there.
Oh, let me see this.
That's a shadow.
Dude, what the heck?
That's
Oh my god.
such a good photo.
Whoa, it's like blending in with the fucking carpet, dude.
I caught a shadow on. Seriously.
Oh man.
Wow.
That's weird, dude.
That is so cool. Which room is this?
That's like
Is this like a
ballroom or something?
ballroom?
Dude.
I've been kind of here off.
Yeah, sorry,
We
dude.
found a hallway that we've never.
Yeah, I've never been in here either. Now we're getting the grand tour now, dude. Yo. Probably, man. Dude.
I think they are. I think the shadow's just cheeky.
We're getting the grand tour, dude.
I think the shadow's That's crazy. That is so scary.
Show yourself. Yo. Oh my goodness. What? Alright. Thank you so much, man. Holy crap. I feel special. Dude.
Yes. Roosevelt.
Wow. The Congress Plaza. Yeah, this is like a fancy. Oh my goodness, dude. Wow. What the heck? Thank you. Thank you so much, man. This means a lot. That's so beautiful. Wow. This whole room is a goddamn work of art, man. Like, right? Yeah, this looks like the fucking Kremlin or some shit. I'm sorry, I'm swearing so much. Whoa, man. What's behind there, man?
Oh, that's where the kitchen is. Like, you know where they bring out all the stuff for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like this place used to.
Every Halloween.
High class
they have a big
people.
hall here. And it's a lot of fun. Like, I did the Halloween all one time. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
All right, we're in the secret wing. Hello? Dude. this really old bathroom. Is anyone here with us?
I've never seen this.
Dude, me neither.
I'm taking a picture of it.
Yeah, dude. Is anyone here with us? This is so creepy, dude. Like, this wallpaper must be from like the 1940s. Like, no one's washed their hands in here since like the 50s. Like, why is there a wine glass here? Is anyone here with us? Look at all this shit. It's like a bunch of like hotel supplies. Why is there a Coors Light?
Say something.
Alright, I'm not even shitting you. I just heard a little child's voice, like with my own ears. I just saw a spike too. Oh, it's spiking. Dude, Emily, look. Is anyone here with us? I swear to God, I heard a voice. Yeah, it's like spiking over here. Dude, turn that ghost backs on.
I think it's this thing. We can hear you. Just say something. Say hello. Try to say hello.
It's spiking, dude.
Mine was. Mine just did. Can you try to say hello?
What's your name? Walk right next to that. Can you make that thing go off again? But you did a good job right there. Just try to make that move again. If you go next to it, it'll make the light go off.
I believe you're here.
I know you're here with us. Like, I don't want to scare you, you know, like, we're friendly.
I have invested. Fred.
Hello? I heard it, hello.
Frederick. Is that you?
I think I heard you say hello, man. How are you doing?
As I'm sure you all know by now, I live in the Chicago area. So I think it would be so fun to do like an investigation of the Congress Hotel or something like that, or even just stay there. But if I stay there, obviously I'm gonna like make content out of it. But I think it would be so fun. I don't think any of my friends would be up for doing something like that, and I'm definitely not up for doing it by myself. Do not take this as like this is gonna happen any day now. This is kind of just like a vision I have for the future. But it would be fun to every once in a while like toss in some kind of an investigation in between these TikTok videos that I do. Again, don't assume this is going to happen anytime soon because like I said, I don't think any of my friends would be on board for doing something like that. I'm not doing it by myself. But I think it would be fun. Maybe I'll look into it for like spooky season. I know that's so far away, but that's what I'm saying. Don't get your hopes up. It's not happening anytime soon. Most likely. But I think that would be really fun. And like there are a lot of haunted things that are in the vicinity, like haunted hotels and stuff, that I think would be really cool to investigate. But I really love this because the security guard like got into it and was able to show his own like photos that he had. Those photos I think are insane. I mean, definitely caught shadow figures / apparitions. It's like, if you didn't know that it wasn't a person, you'd kind of just think it was a weird blurry photo with a person in it. But it's not. It's a ghost. I think these are really interesting. I love these like investigation TikToks that you come across. Our next TikTok is with user girl.thatsjaay.
Y'all, I moved into a haunted house. And to make it even worse, it was in the projects. So in like March or April of 2023, I moved into a townhouse down the way on 33rd, y'all. So my first night in there, it was just me and my son. And my son, he keeps coming to my room telling me that somebody is coming up the stairs. Like, his room was the first room when you got to the top of the stairs. So like, when you got up there, you turn right, it was his room, and in the middle was mine. He keeps coming in my room. Like, the first night we in there, he like, yeah, mommy, I think somebody is at the bottom of the stairs. I think, someone's coming up the stairs, or they're either like, at the bottom of the stairs, but I keep hearing somebody on the stairs. So I just try to reassure my son, like, oh, you know what, maybe you just hearing like the house settle, or maybe you hearing the neighbors, because we do live in a townhouse. He would not go to bed. He just insisted that somebody was on the stairs. So I just let him sleep with me, and I closed my door and just went on about my night. So I just had took it like, maybe he was just having a little bit of trouble adjusting to the new house, or, maybe he was just scared, or, him just being a kid. Y'all, after that, shit just started getting weirder. So this is like one night, a couple weeks later, I leave home, and I left my phone at home. And so my location is showing that I'm at home, but I'm not answering my phone or nothing like that. So my friends got worried, and they went to my house to look for me. Like, they go there, but once they get there, all the lights is off in the house, my car not outside or whatever. So they're like looking in the house. They're looking in the kitchen window. Y'all, they say as they looking in there, they can see somebody like walk from the kitchen into the living room, but they can only see like the bottom half of his body. They cannot see. They see it's a boy, and they say he had on like black sweatpants and with like a white line in the middle, and they say he had on like tennis shoes, but they could not see nothing above his torso. So they're like, oh, Jay, Jay dude must be over there or something, and she just maybe not accept the company or whatever. So they just brush it off and they leave. The next day I see them and I'm talking to them. They like, yeah, last night we came to your house. It was a dude walking around in your kitchen and we seen him. We just thought you ain't want to be bothered. And I'm like, no, nobody was in my house last night. I was gone. Like, my house was empty. So I don't, now at this point, I don't really know like what's going on or whatever. So after this, like, shit just kept happening. Like, weird shit just kept happening. So one night I drop my son off at my baby daddy's sister's house, and I leave him there, and I go home and I call my baby daddy. And he's like, as I'm talking to him or whatever, I tell him like mid-conversation, like, yeah, I dropped baby G off already and he gone. And he like, well, if he gone, then who was that talking in the phone when I first got on the phone? Like, it was a little kid talking. I'm like, stop trying to scare me because I'm at home by myself, whatever and whatever. He like, no, I'm not playing. I thought that, he was over there with you because it was just a kid talking in the phone. So I'm like, you know what, maybe he was hearing the TV or whatever. I keep just trying to debunk everything myself. So y'all, I go to bed that night and I wake up the next morning, and I want to say it's like right before or as the sun is like, rising. So it's probably like 6 in the morning, and I wake up and I go to the bathroom. Now my room was in the middle, so I had to walk past my son's room to get to the bathroom. As I walk past his room, I hear like a little kid in there talking, like, making noise, like, like, just humming or whatever, like a little kid. So I'm sitting on the toilet or whatever, and I'm I'm still half asleep or whatever. So I'm in my head like, oh my God, I gotta try to like, get him to lay back down, get him to go back to bed, whatever. He probably gonna be hungry. He gonna want me to go downstairs, make him some food. And it dawned on me, y'all, I dropped my son off last night. So I go in the room, I'm looking around in the room, ain't nothing in there. The TV not on, nothing. But I know, as sure as my name is what it is, I just heard somebody in this room. So, I just keep like rebuking whatever it is that's happening or whatever, but I'm really in my head, I'm trying to ignore it. So after that situation, another time I am going down the stairs. At this particular time, I was at home by myself with nobody in the house but me. And I was just, like cleaning up, straightening up the house or whatever. So I'm going down the stairs. And okay, I forgot to mention that I was pregnant. So I was probably like, I don't even know. I was probably like 7-8 months pregnant. I am walking down the stairs and I feel 5 fingers and a hand in my back, and somebody pushed me off the stairs. Like I went flying off the stairs. I went flying from maybe like the 4th, maybe like 3rd or 4th step. So I hit the floor and I hurt like my ankle, I think. And so I'm at this point I just start praying and rebuking whatever it is that's in the house or whatever. And if the next day, like the very next day, I'm standing at the bottom of the stairs. My son is back home at this point. I'm standing at the bottom of the stairs and I'm waiting on my son to come downstairs, and I'm ready for him to get dressed so we can go. And he gets to like the 3rd or 4th step and he flies off the stairs. Like I'm standing there looking at him. He didn't, mess up his footing. He didn't misstep. He didn't trip. He flew off them stairs. Now, I cannot remember who I talked to after, I've seen this, after I'm witnessing all this. But I talked to somebody, and it was a lady. And she ended up telling me, like, whatever is happening in your house, whoever is in your house, whatever spirit or whatever happened before you stayed there, it's centered around the steps in your house. Like, a lot of the activity was around the stairs, but like, other stuff was always happening. Like whenever I was on the phone with somebody, they always could say that they could hear like a baby crying or a little kid talking or stuff like that. It was very weird. So now, y'all, it's summertime at this point. Like we into the summer, so it's maybe like June. And I had my little sister over my house, and she had stayed there one night and babysat my son. So I had came home the next morning because I had been out all night. And I came home the next morning and I asked my son, like, who was over here last night? Trying to see if my sister had somebody in my house. So he's like, wasn't nobody over here last night, mommy. It was just me, Sheree, and Jawan. I said, who the fuck is Jawan? My son say, Jawan, my friend, he be over here at night. I'm like, so I go and I'm trying to ask my sister, like, who is Jawan? Like, who do you know that's named Jawan? He like, she like, I don't know nobody named Jawan. I'm like, you gotta know somebody named Jawan, because Baby G said you had somebody named Jawan over here, whatever. My sister is like, no, I didn't. I don't even know nobody named Jawan. Now, at this point, I'm thinking that she has coached my son into telling me that, like, Jawan is somebody, like, he done made up in his head or something. Because Jawan ain't no name that no 4-year-old gonna just come up with, The next day, we send downstairs, and the mail come through the door. So I told you I live down the way. So when you live down the way, it's just a hole in the door that the mail come through. And we send downstairs, and the mail come through the door, and it hit the floor. And I tell my sister, get in and tell me, like, who it's addressed to. Is it for me? If it's for me, open it. My sister say, no, this ain't for you. This ain't for nobody that live here. This for somebody named Jawan.
I'm sorry, I kind of laughed at the end because it's like it all comes together. She's like wondering who this guy is. It's like, no, this guy, you had to have invited this guy over, because how would my son know his name? How would my son know this person? Because who thinks like, oh, there's a ghost that my son's made friends with, And then all of a sudden, it all clicks because the mail shows up and it has the same name, and it's like, oh, maybe that guy is no longer with us, and that's who my son's talking to in the spirit realm. It's like it all finally makes sense. That would I'd be like frozen for a second just trying to process that information. But I think other than the fact that, she has to deal with this and that she lives in a haunted house, I think it's really cool how everything just like clicked. It's like this and this and this, and then, oh my God, I love a good mystery. What can I say? Our next TikTok's with user withlovemelaylay.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I wanted to preface the story by saying that I grew up with a very spiritual mom. My mom has always believed in ghosts, spirits, paranormal things. In the past, she has used a board. I'm too scared to say these words, by the way. Well, I grew up with my mom taking me to psychics all my life. My mom, when I was a child, was told by several people that I had a gift, that I was born with a gift to see and feel beyond this realm. Essentially, that I had a clairvoyance and a sensitivity to energies. Mind you, this is a gift that I would gladly like to return. So anyway, needless to say that I have had several experiences from when I was a child, and so has my mom. Funny enough, all the women in my mom's side of the family, my younger sister, my 4 aunts, and my mom all have had some kind of experience of their own. Anyway, we lived in apartments growing up all my life. We would move from apartment to apartment several times, and the place that a lot of the activity happened at, we happened to live at for maybe 4 to 5 years. During this time period, I think I was between 13 to 16. When we first moved into this apartment, the neighbors that we had a few doors down that were already living there told us that there was a story of a little girl's presence that basically haunted the apartment complex. There was a pool in the back that was covered. It was filled with dirt or concrete, and the story was that a little girl drowned there. And I just also want to mention that these were not nice apartments. These were very old apartments, and yeah. Another important thing to note is that I had an aunt that lived right next door. There was my apartment and she lived right next door. And I had a little cousin who at the time was around 6 years old. He had an imaginary friend who was a little girl whose name I shall not say because I don't want to bring that energy back. For some reason, most of the activity of the things that happened was in my mom's room. My room was directly across from my mom's room. There was a hallway in between, but they faced each other directly. There was a bathroom. This was upstairs, so there was a bathroom in between the 2 bedrooms, and that was the only bathroom upstairs. The other bathroom was downstairs. So this is an important part of the story. I was always terrified of my mom's room because at this point I had already had other experiences that centered around her room. For example, just a side story, there was this one time where I was taking care of my sister, and all of my family, all of my aunts were at my aunt's house next door. It was a party. It was maybe Thanksgiving or my aunt's birthday, which is also November, and they were all celebrating. And so because my sister was tired, I was tired, I brought her back to the apartment and put her to bed in my mom's room. And when I was looking in the mirror to take off my makeup or just look at myself, I noticed my shadow behind me moved. And so I told myself, okay, well, obviously it's my shadow, so if I move, it's gonna move. And something about it just scared me. Something about seeing the shadow like cast behind me scared me. I stopped just to see what would happen, and then the shadow grew taller and started to move across the room, and I'm starting to get chills. That's only one of the things that happened. There were also several things that happened to my mom in her own room. Anyway, that's not the story I'm telling, at least right now. Home alone very often because my mom worked all the time, and I didn't have a car at this time. I was maybe around 15, maybe 16, and I did have friends that had cars, but I did not have a car. So oftentimes I would lock myself in my room. At this stage, I was already very afraid of being alone. I was terrified of the dark, and I was terrified of ever leaving my room. I was terrified of my mom's room. I wouldn't leave my room just to avoid seeing my mom's room that was across the hall. So this means there was often times where I wouldn't eat and I wouldn't go to the restroom. And there was this one time where I just happened to be alone for a really long time. It got to the point where I had to go to the restroom. Part of the deal when I was alone, because my mom already knew how afraid I was to be there, was that she would always close her door, her bedroom door, when she left and turn off the light. If she didn't do this when she left, then I would muster up the courage to run across the hall, turn off her light and close the door, just because I didn't want to see any activity underneath the door. Like, I didn't want to see any light or shadow activity under her door. And this is really important. When I tell you I was paranoid about this, I was adamant about this, and I always, if I was alone, I made sure the door was closed and I think you know where this is going. This time that I was alone and I was in my room for majority of the day, it got to the point where I needed to leave the room and I needed to go to the restroom. And I just remember that I had peeked out of my bedroom before, trying to get the courage to go to make sure her door was closed, her light was off. It was. And so went back in my room, grabbed my phone, was talking myself up to go to the restroom. I just didn't want to see her room. And Of course, when I go back out to walk to the restroom, I freeze because I look across and her light is on. Immediately, I retreat back to my room. I start talking to myself, telling myself, maybe I mistook what I saw. But I knew in my gut, and I knew because I checked, that the light had been turned off and it had been off, and now it is on. I don't know how much time passed, at least another hour, that I just hid in my room. Instead of fight or flight, I froze. I just froze in place, and I was too scared to move. I started praying. I had a rosary I always had on me and just started praying. Well, eventually, because I knew my mom wasn't going to be home, nobody was going to be home. My aunt worked with my mom at the time, and so nobody was home next door. I knew that I was going to be alone for a few more hours. I eventually mustered up the courage again to, at the very least, I wanted to confirm that what I saw was true, and if somehow I was able to run to the restroom and then just come back, get that done. But then when I opened my door, I now see her doors slightly open. The light is still on and her door is slightly open. With this, I knew that I knew that something was happening. So once again, retreat back to my room. At this stage, I'm freaking out. Like, even talking about this, it freaks me out. Eventually, fast forwarding through the time, it felt like hours were passing. So the rooms were across from each other and the staircase was next to my room. So I thought maybe if I just am able to turn the corner and run down the stairs and leave the apartment, that's what I'll do. I'm just too scared to be here. And so I open the door again, and now her light is off again, and the door is still open. And I just see a shadow, a short shadow, standing in the crack of the door. I freeze. I freeze. When I say I still get chills talking about this, I tried to tell myself maybe it's something hanging on the door, maybe it's this and that. I had checked after my mom was finally home. Nothing was hanging on the door, and nothing is in the view of the door. Like, you can't see anything from her bedroom from the view of the door. I don't know what that was, but I do. At this stage, I can't be at the apartment anymore. I'm frozen in fear, and I can't even get myself to run down the stairs. I go back in my room, and I call a friend of mine who had a car, and I tell her, you need to come pick me up. I'm scared, and I can't be here. We had a bad habit of always leaving our door unlocked because my aunt was next door, and just in case they were in and out of our apartment all the time, our door was always unlocked. So I tell my friend, the door's unlocked, come get me, go straight up to my room, come get me. So being a good friend, she comes, she goes up the stairs, I'm ready to go. First thing she says is, where did your sister go? Grab your sister. And I said, no, I'm alone, I'm not taking care of her today because I babysat very often, we can just go. Then she tells me the words that have haunted me to this day. She says, but I just heard her laughing. I heard her laughing while I was going up the stairs. Once again, this isn't the first thing and it's not the last thing that happened in that apartment. That apartment turned my stern, logical stepdad into a believer of things beyond explanation.
I really hate that it's like, obviously you can't just up and move. So it's like a child or like a member of the family is kind of in distress because of paranormal activity that's just targeting them. But, you know, you can't always just up and move when something like that happens. Like, not everyone has the means to do so. Like, moving sucks regardless. And so it's like, it's so unfortunate when there's just one member of the family that's being targeted and they have to just wait it out because that's their house. And it's like something they become used to having to deal with. And like she said, that she locks herself in her room and has to sometimes time bathroom breaks and snacks and stuff like that because she's that afraid to leave her room when she's home alone. Like, it's like sad. Our next TikToks with the user is Soraya Williams 99.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, so my grandma used to live out in the country, and she had like this wooded area behind her house. And I mean, it went on for miles, like miles and miles of just wooded area, dark shrub, trees, everything. And we used to play out there all the time, me and my cousins and my uncle. My uncle was like a year and a half older than me. But we were out there all the time. And one night, we were playing hide and seek, me and my uncle. And my sister and my grandpa were getting like a fire started, roasting the hot dogs and stuff. My grandma was cooking inside. And my uncle, he had just found me. So it was my turn to go find him. And so what we did is they would hide in the yard and the other person would count in the garage. So I was in the garage counting to 20. When I counted to 20, I went out to go find him. And I was calling his name. I couldn't find him anywhere. And I was like, Kyle, like, I can't find you. Where are you at? Like, I'm done looking for you. And then all of a sudden I heard this voice, and it was my uncle's voice. I heard him say Soraya. And a little backstory is I was adopted, and my birth name was Soraya, but when I was adopted, they had me change my name to Samantha. So, like, it was just very odd that he called me by my birth name and not, like, the name he knew me as. But it sounded just like him, so I was like, it's not like he didn't know what my birth name was. So, and it was coming down from, like, the bottom of the hill, which was really dark. And, like, how my grandma's yard was, it's, like, flat. And then she had, like, a chicken coop here. And then the chicken coop had, like, a fence around it. And the fence kind of went down, like, at a slant, down, like, this hill. And at the bottom of this hill was, like, tall shrubs, field, and it went into the woods. And so, it was coming from down there in the dark. And I don't like the dark. I'm scared of the dark. Even to this day, I'm scared of the dark. And so I was, like, creeping up to it, like, to the top of, like, the hill where it starts to go down. I'm like, Kyle, like, come on up. Like, I don't want to go down there. And whoever, the voice that was speaking to me wasn't answering back to me. So, like, it was kind of, like, irritating me a little bit. I'm like, Kyle, I'm not going down there. Like, I'm not going to go down there and find you. And they weren't saying anything back. Like, he wasn't saying anything back. And I'm like, Kyle, come on. So, like, me, of course, I'm naturally just creeping my way down there. I'm like, Kyle, come on. And then it's hard to talk about. The voice said Soraya one more time, and I'm like, Kyle, like, I'm not going down there. Like, come on up. I'm scared. I don't want to go down there. And I got down, like, here's, like, where, like, the field starts, like, the trees, the wooded area. And like I said, it's pitch black, and I'm, like, right here. Like, I'm, like, 2 steps from entering in, and I hear, like, you haven't found me yet, come from behind me. I swung my head around so fast, and there was my uncle sitting on the porch. Like, he had just opened the door, and he, like, was like this, and he's like, you haven't found me yet? And it's like in those cartoon movies where, like, the character, like, can't run, and, like, they're just running in, like, in the spot that they are. And I felt like I couldn't move. And I just, once I found, like, the grip to go or whatever, I took off up that hill. And I was, like, sweating. I was so scared. And I told him, I'm like, have you been inside this whole time? And he's like, yes, I have. My grandma was super religious. And so I was like, I knew my grandma wouldn't lie to me if I asked her. So I asked her, I said, Grandma, like, has he been in here the whole time? She's like, yeah, he's been in here since the beginning. He's like, the moment you started counting, he's like, from the garage, he was like, I went inside. And I'm, like, literally freaking out at this point. Like, I don't know what to think. So I literally run out to my grandpa and my sister. And I said, like, I'm like, were you guys hiding down at the bottom of the field by the chicken coop? And they're like, no, we've literally been here. And, like, they had, like, the look on their faces, you could tell, like, they had no idea what I was talking about. Like, they were 100% telling the truth. Like, they were being serious. They're like, we're roasting hot dogs right now. We're not playing around. We're not goofing around type of emotion. And I'm, like, sitting here like, what the heck just happened? Like, what was that voice? And why did the voice sound exactly like my uncle? And so my grandma's like, she's like, you look like you've just seen a ghost. And my grandma being super religious, I was scared to tell her about it because I didn't know if she was going to believe me or not. And so, but, like, I was so shooken up from it that I literally told her, I said, like, I heard a voice that sounded like Uncle Kyle, and it wasn't him. He's been inside the whole time. And she's like, just her expression on her face was, like, so subtle. It was just like she'd seen it before type of look. She's like, those are what we call demons. And I don't know, like, it reassured me to an extent because it's like, okay, she believes me, like, I'm not going crazy. But it's like, has my grandma seen this before? Like, does she, like, the way she talked to me, it was just like it's happened before. Like, she's heard about it before type thing. I don't know. But, like, ever since that day, it was so hard for me to play out in the woods because I just felt like something was watching me. I felt like something was out there. And like I said, we used to play in the woods all the time back there. Like, we'd find like old like old medicine bottles. Like we would like tear down some of the trees and like lay them down. Like it was to this day, like it's just a weird thing to talk about. And people are like, oh, it's skinwalkers, it's this, it's that. But like to this day, like I still don't know what it is. To this day, I always wonder, like, had I taken those 2 steps and like got in there, what was waiting for me? Like, would I be here? You know, like people, like it sounds weird. People don't believe you, but I don't know. It was a crazy day.
I feel like there's a lot of really good stories in this video. This one is, I mean, I don't know. I think that would kind of alter my brain chemistry forever, knowing like, what if my uncle didn't come out because I was taking so long? What if I had made those extra few steps and gone into the woods? Who knows what would have happened? What would I have encountered? There was very obviously something negative trying to lure her down there. And the fact that her grandma instantly believed her when she was talking about it, I mean, that would legitimately alter my brain chemistry forever, knowing like something terrible could have happened, and not even in the normal way, but with the paranormal twist to it. I think that would truly affect me forever. Our next TikToks user, maddysallee.
I'm back with another paranormal story time for you guys. If you haven't seen my first story time that I posted, it is pinned on my profile if you are interested in watching that. It does kind of explain all of the nitty-gritty details that I get into with why I do experience a lot of paranormal things now. But long story short, I played with a Ouija board when I was in the 6th grade. I was 12 years old, and I have had a significant encounter with a specific entity that is very popular, if you will, when it comes to playing the Ouija board. I have had paranormal experiences before that, but I think that specific situation did exacerbate it and made it a little bit more dramatic, if you will. I do want to preface that I am really bad at recording these, and I'm also very bad at editing, and I jump timelines a lot, so forgive me. All right, now to what actually happened. So I will say that as I tell stories, it will not be consistent with timelines. I will say that. Here's why. Because I don't remember everything that happened all the time. It is very random when the memory comes back, and then I will share it as it comes. So I'm sorry if that bothers some of you, but that's just how my mind works. So this specific situation happened very shortly after my first encounter in the 6th grade. So I was still around 12, 13 years old, and I'd gone to sleep that night kind of feeling a lot of fear and feeling very unsettled, not knowing if something kind of negative was going to happen. Whenever I'd have those feelings, that's usually what would happen. So just to clarify, I had a very, very vivid dream that night. I still remember it clear as day. I will never forget it. So I was laying in my bed in this dream, just like I was in real life. And I heard a storm outside. And all of a sudden, my roof came off of my house and started like spinning everywhere. But my room was intact. It was very odd. I knew I was dreaming. I knew this wasn't real life. And I heard a voice, a very, very evil voice, call out my name in this dream. And I did respond, knowing that whatever I was encountering was very, very evil. And he said, there's going to be a day where you. And I didn't know what to say. So I didn't really say anything. I got myself to wake up, but I woke up with a huge startling sound. This is what I heard once I woke up. Obviously, that is a very unsettling sound to wake up to, and I really thought there was somebody standing in my room clapping. Even though that sounds really ridiculous, I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't really equate it to anything else. What felt like probably 10 minutes of me just sitting there contemplating if I wanted to get up and potentially, not be on this earth anymore if I got up. Sounds dramatic, but that's how I felt. I turned my light on, and my entire ceiling was flooded. Mind you, at that point, we had really no issues in the house, and There was no reason for my roof, like my ceiling, I should say, to be flooded that way. I don't know what that dream meant or if there really was any sort of specific meaning behind it. I haven't really sought it out because it did freak me out so badly. If any of you guys have any idea of what it could mean, feel free to let me know. I'm open to suggestion, but it is something that has stayed in my mind for a long time. I've never forgotten that dream. And I've never forgotten that right when I woke up, my whole ceiling was flooded. If you've made it this far, that means that you've listened to the entire video. Thank you so much for coming by and watching and being interested in my paranormal videos. Let me know if you liked it, if you want to hear more, and I will see you hopefully in the next video.
It's so interesting. It's like how this dream kind of mimics reality. It really, to me, feels like kind of a timeline jump in, or like looking into another timeline in her sleep. And I just think it's so interesting that she witnesses like the roof come off of her bedroom, and then in real life when she wakes up that the ceiling's soaked. It's like not the same thing, but it is two very similar things, and it's so fascinating that she had that vision and then woke up to a soaked roof. It's like, it's way too similar for my liking. Our next TikTok is with the user spookyalliecake. The first part of the video has text, so I will read that out loud right now. It says, when you and your team realize the screams coming from the abandoned floor in the former hospital weren't your friend and no one else was up there, and he has a video to prove it.
Shit.
Hello everyone. So since I have a lot of new followers and I even got a request in the comments of the video you just saw asking me to tell the full story, I'm going to go ahead and do that again because I have told that story on here, but there's nothing wrong with telling it again for the new people. So first and foremost, I have been investigating the paranormal since I was 13. I grew up in a haunted house, and when I was around 13, my friends and I decided to start investigating in the house, and then we started branching out to other locations, and this investigation happened when I was about 18. So one of the first places that my old friends and I ever investigated was the old Sacred Heart Hospital in Pensacola, Florida. Now that hospital, it closed in the 50s. I think it opened in like 1915 or something. And it went through, like, if I'm not mistaken, 2 different plagues. So there's a lot of history there. So the building is no longer a hospital, but it is open to the public on the first 3 floors. You can go around and walk through the former hospital and look at artifacts and things like that. And there are also a couple offices in some places in the building. And there is a pizza restaurant in the former morgue on the bottom floor. So it's an interesting location, but it's one of my favorites. So obviously it's very haunted. I have had many experiences there, and I know many other people who also have. I've captured EVPs, I have seen orbs with my eyes, caught shadow figures, I even saw a very clear apparition at one point. But this story is still the experience that I had that freaks me out the most about that hospital. So when I was about 18, I went there with a group of my friends to investigate, and we were all just like investigating the 3rd floor, which is the highest level that you were allowed to go on as the public, because the upper floors are still completely abandoned. Like, it's not safe to go up there. So my group and I were all at the bottom of the staircase that led to the 4th floor, but we weren't about to go up on it. Now, all of us except for one person in that group was 18. This person was 17. We were all like just out of high school. And the 17-year-old decided that he wanted to go up on the abandoned floor, and that is illegal and you will get arrested. But you know how high school kids are, and like fresh out of high school kids and stuff like that, especially teenage boys. So he was very insistent on it, and I had very strict parents, so I was like, I cannot be guilty by association. If you get arrested, I'm screwed. So I am going to go through these big metal doors and go into the hallway and not be around this. Another member of my group was in a similar situation, so he went with me. So we go through the big metal doors. You can't hear anything on the other side, by the way. They are very heavy, very thick. Anyway, but yes. So anyway, my friend and I are walking back through the hallway, just looking at artifacts and talking and whatever. I don't even remember what exactly we were doing, but we're just walking around. And all of a sudden, through the ceiling right above us, so coming from the abandoned floor that our friend was on, we hear this awful scream. It sounded like a guy, so like we assumed it was him, and it sounded like someone was like in excruciating pain, so like we assumed that he had fallen down and like broken his leg, because it was like dangerous as hell up there. So we go running back. I actually think I was texting another member of my group like, oh my god, did you guys just hear that? What's going on? And we burst back through the doors, and right as we're standing there, we see our friend come down the stairs, and we're just like, what the hell was that? Like, are you okay? And he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. So this kid was a bit of a jokester. So we thought he was like screwing with us. And we were like, okay, wow, you scared me. And he's like, I genuinely don't know what you're talking about. And we were like, well, we heard you screaming up there, so stop messing with us. And he was like, no, seriously, like, I wasn't screaming up there and I can prove it. This kid had taken a video from the time he went up those stairs to the time he came back down. He did not scream. He didn't make any noise that could have sounded like a scream. And what we heard was definitely coming from the floor above us. We were the only ones that heard it. So yeah, that story still gives me chills, because we definitely heard someone screaming. Like, it was a horrible scream. So yes, that is basically what happened. We, being 18 and 17-year-olds, freaked out. Yeah, there wasn't really a resolution to that story, just it was really creepy, and we left shortly after. I have many more stories about my experiences in this hospital. If you want to, you can go back through my page. I have plenty of videos where I talk about it, but I also have a book that I wrote about growing up in a haunted house and my very first ever ghost investigations. And there's a lot about this hospital in that book. And if you're interested in that, you can click the link in my bio and go buy it. It's called Ghost Girl, a memoir of my paranormal experiences, or a memoir of my childhood paranormal experiences, actually. And, by Ali Rose, which is me, and it's available on Amazon. The link is in my bio.
The idea of a pizza place being in a morgue is something that I would love to go to. I think it's morbidly hilarious. I mean, I don't know, that's just me. I love it. Fantastic idea, if you ask me. But the fact that they heard like a blood-curdling scream coming from upstairs, and they have proof that it wasn't any of their friends trying to mess with them. It seems like no one else heard it, like she said, because you'd think that there'd be people in the vicinity and someone would be like, what the heck, and go and investigate. Like, not only just to make sure someone's okay, but also to be like, hey, I know someone's up there and it shouldn't be. Maybe it had to have been like a phantom scream. Whether it was residual energy from it being a hospital, or if it was something trying to mess with them, we'll never know. But I think that is so crazy, and I really can't get over the fact that like this hospital is turned into, I mean, it's like an educational thing, but again, a pizza place in the morgue. Love it. I really do. Our next TikTok is by the user Angelica98.
Welcome back to the Midnight Sesh. Get comfy, get cozy, because you know I am. Today's story that I have for you is called, I Think Someone is Using My Bathroom at Night. Let's get into it. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment. The bathroom is inside my bedroom, so I'm the only one who ever uses it. That's important. A few weeks ago, I started noticing the bathroom light was on in the morning. I always turn it off before bed. I assume I'd forgotten. I was tired, it happens. Then I noticed the toilet seat was up. I never leave it up. Still, I brushed it off. I didn't want to be dramatic about something so small. A few days later, my toothbrush was wet when I woke up. Not damp from the air wet, like it had just been rinsed. That night, before going to bed, I took a picture of the bathroom. Sink dry, toilet seat down, light off. Door open exactly halfway. I did it mostly to prove to myself that I wasn't losing it. When I woke up, the door was closed. The light was off, the toilet seat was up. My toothbrush was wet again. I checked my phone to make sure I wasn't sleepwalking. No steps recorded, no unusual movement. I'd been asleep the entire night. That's when I checked the shower curtain. It was pulled closed. I never close it. I leave it open so it can dry. I stood there for a long time before opening it. Nothing was inside. That day, I bought a cheap motion sensor camera and pointed it at the bathroom door from my bedroom. It wasn't a great angle, but it was enough to see if the door moved. The first night, nothing happened. The second night, the camera recorded for 13 minutes. The footage showed my bedroom door closed. The bathroom door didn't move. Nothing entered the frame, but I could hear it. Someone was inside the bathroom. I could hear breathing, shifting, the soft sound of water running, then stopping. At one point, the toilet flushed. The door never opened. Near the end of the recording, the handle slowly turned, just enough to test it. Then it stopped. The camera cut off after that. In the morning, the bedroom door was open. The mirror was fogged. Written into the condensation with a finger was one word. Thanks. I'm staying at a friend's place now. I didn't tell them why. Last night, they asked me if I'd use their bathroom around 3 a.m. I said no. That one kind of scared me, guys.
So I really hate this. I feel like it seems like something's attached to him if he goes to a friend's house and then the friend's asking, were you using the bathroom at 3 a.m.? It seems like something that he can't just run away and escape from. He can't just move and get away from this thing. It seems like it is an entity that is attached to him. And I really hate that for him. I mean, I'm thanking God that that's not me, because that is absolutely horrifying. Our next TikTok is with the user, babbingbrooke.
Yap with me because I can't afford therapy and I'm a freaking babbling brook with a bunch of spooky scary times that let me I did go to the grippy sock place. I'm not, let's not hold back here, okay? And if you don't like spooky stuff, then keep going because I didn't get a choice. So let's just go right into it. My name's Brooke. I am a pastor's daughter of a Christian, very small group that I left at a young age. And I basically was kind of plagued by the paranormals, yo. I think I'm crazy. I thought I was crazy too. I'm about to tell you, it freaking happened. It freaking happened. It freaking sucks. Okay, so here's what the shizzle happened. My brother we were probably like 8 years old, okay? He's probably like 13, whatever age it is, the gap. So he was surfing at the beach one day, and he found this little box that hit his foot. He was like, ow, after he caught this wave. And he grabs the box. Surprise for you, and then he shows it to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty, I want to open it. And it was this little silver rectangle jewelry box, and I had elephants on it. I have dug around to try the closest I possibly could to what this thing looked. Can't stop thinking about this little freaking box, and we can't get it open, and it was sealed with a red little waxy substance of sorts. Not saying it's demons, but it might be. Anyway, fast forward, bring it home, try to open it, can't freaking open that thing. His Home Depot, garage tool bench. It's a dad thing where he's like, and he's like, I don't remember anything being in it. I really don't remember anything actually being in it. I've asked my brother and he's like, oh, this isn't real. And I'm like, cool. So after that, I would say things definitely that happened. And I've had a lot of weird things happen. Fast forward to the even crazier stuff, that the whole reason why I even mentioned this stuff, and it made sense later, why I think it was like a demon box, and I need the Winchesters. I'm just cry. Hi. It got a little spooky and a little hard to talk about. So I procrastinated a little bit, and here I'm back again. I'm going to try to tell you this without editing anymore. It's just a little hard. I'm getting... Okay. Not a lot of things happened after I moved out of the house. Okay, that house is pretty spooky that I grew up in. I was born in that house, and we had a lot of issues with it. But I'm just gonna tell you the main thing. When I moved in with my ex, this is like a long time ago, 2016, I think. I have this all blocked out in my mind, but I'm gonna tell you. I didn't have a lot of things happen except for a couple of dreams, and a lot of the time when we heard something weird, I would have dreams that he would die. I had dreams that he would be unalived in a car accident often, and he would have to wake me up, and like all the time, like really wake me up, and it was very traumatizing for me. And towards the end, that's when I saw and it was like a warning. It was just 3 days before everything, before he was unalived. And he left my house. An intoxicated person hit him. It was September 20th, 2018. It's weird to talk about. So I saw the Hat Man. Oh, I said him. Oh well, all right. I saw him about 3 days before he passed away. And then also when that happened, like right in that, before that happened, my ex grabbed me. And he looked at me and he was like, when I'm unalived, you need to live your life. And I'm like, excuse me, what? What do you mean? What do you mean when? What do you mean if? And he was like, fine, if. I was like, okay, this is weird. He's like, look, if I do be unalived, you need to live your life. You need to promise me. You need to go and live your life. You need to do all these things. And I'm just like, start crying. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And he was like, I don't know. I just needed, I don't know. It was just weird. He was like, you just need to promise me that you go and live your life. You're not going to dwell about me and cry over me. Cause yeah, okay. He knew me pretty well. I'm a pretty emotional person. Yeah. So him saying that and then seeing that man, and then 3 days later, I kept getting, so I would have this dream. Okay. I had the same dream about him being unalived, getting the call about him. And there was usually 3 variations that would kind of rotate. One of them was that he was in critical condition. I would get a phone call, look at my phone. Wow. My own apartment because I'd moved out. Like, okay. I have a missed call from his dad. It's kind of weird. And then he's like, okay, like, hey, it's me, like, so-and-so. My ex was driving home. He got hit. He's in critical condition. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. And then it was that. I'm freaking out for you, I'll hang up. And then that was the first version. I would have that one the most, like I said. And then it was, the second version was he would be going to surgery. He was okay, but I needed to get down there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to hang up. Okay, I'm on my way. I'm coming down there. And then the third version, of course, was that, he didn't make it. And I'm like, what? I can't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, no, Brooke, he didn't make it, is the third version of how this dream went. And when it actually did happen, I got that phone call. I picked up the phone. I look and see it's his dad. And I'm like, wait a minute, am I dreaming? And I couldn't figure it out because sometimes I get stuck in my dreams. So I pick up the phone. It's his dad, and he's like, Brooke, on the way home last night, he was driving, and I was like, and like, he was trying to explain, like, he was in a car accident, and that and I beat him to the punch because I've had these dreams so frequently and terrorized by them that I had them memorized. And I was like, I have to, I'm going to pull a card. he's in critical condition, like he's fine. I just picked that one, I think, because it was like, I'd rather him, you know, have a chance or something than the worst scenario, because I had that dream so often that I was like, okay, it must be that one. And he was like, no, bro, like I literally was like, it's critical. And at the same time, he was trying to say that, no, he didn't make it. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, no, Brooke, he didn't make it. It was the same ending script line. Like his lines never changed except for he was in critical condition. He was on he was going into surgery. He'll be okay, but you know, you should get down here. And then it was, no, he didn't make it. No, like, but like that part of it, like that part of it in the dream that I had, it's just so weird. It's just so weird. Like I tried to fill in the line before. It isn't, I don't know if that makes sense. Like if I'm trying to make sense. Like I had all these variation to the dreams, and I was trying to pull which scenario of the dream I wanted, fill in that ad lib of the script that like I've had so many times, and trying to do that, it was like, no, it was the worst one anyway. It didn't matter. It was just so weird. Like I was like, I knew what was coming next. I knew what lines were gonna come next, and I feared that one so much. And I've had so many other things happen to where I just couldn't take it anymore. Honestly, I really couldn't take it anymore, and it's been really difficult the last like 7 years since this happened or whatever. Honestly, like I completely changed. I did, and I have had so many supernatural, paranormal, weird dreams, and that little box on top of it, I didn't really realize it until one day I'm like, wait a freaking second, dude, I've had all these weird things happen in that, and like, so weird. And like, I've seen, you know, I've had things move across the room. I've had TVs turn on. I would love to share. It's just only talking about it, being alone all the time, because I'm pretty alone, and I've become a hermit because of this. I locked myself in my room after what this happened and everything, and like my ex being unalived and all that. Oh, for like almost a year. It was really bad. And like a lot of my other dreams that I've had, like from my younger years, that's come true now, and I understand. And like I had so many dreams about all of it, all these weird, I guess you could call them premonitions or whatever. And it makes me feel crazy. And there's no one who can prove it. Like, you know, I went one time, actually, we went to a psychic lady. We were going, we thought it was a joke when I used to have friends, but just going with the flow, and this lady knew. She was legit. She was like Madame Zeroni, dude, and it was terrifying. Everything she said, to the date, to the T, all this stuff. It was really personal. She knew about my everything. Crazy. So yeah, I've had my name's Brooke, and I oh, by the way, I still can go to the house and like the church and everything I grew up in and all that. Church, like very small group. But yeah, so I hope you guys liked it, because also, and just to clarify, like these things don't just like, oh, they happen constantly. No, they're very, like, they can be very far and in between them they happen, but when they do happen, it's always just like, what my gosh, it's terrifying, quite frankly, but like I'm so curious and fascinated by it and everything. And yeah, I'm kind of tired of just sitting in a room kind of like thinking about it and not having anybody to talk to. So it'd be nice to hear other people's stories. It'd be nice if people didn't want to hear more, but whatever, it's fine. But either way, it doesn't change the fact that like it makes me tinkle my pants a little because it's so spooky. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I love her personality, and it's so sad that something like that has happened to her, because I mean it's very clear that it's affecting her deeply. My first thought absolutely was that it was a Divic box and something that was not meant to be opened, touched, messed with. I mean, if you see something out in the wild that seems kind of witchy, seems kind of spooky, seems like it could be a spell or a Divic box or something, it is really best not to touch it, because I mean you are messing with something that you you shouldn't be. It's not yours. And obviously, you know, she didn't know that. She didn't have any intention of messing with something, but it seems like that potentially ended up happening. You can't say that, you know, this happened to her boyfriend because of that, but it is really weird for sure that she potentially was messing with the Divic box unintentionally, and then had these weird vision-like dreams where she's essentially predicting how he would end up passing away very soon after. I mean, it's actually really eerie, the fact that she's constantly having these nightmares and this exact thing happens. And then his father calls her and says one of the 3 scripts that he would say during her dreams. I absolutely don't think it's her fault. I don't think her dreams caused it. I think her dreams were kind of a vision, if anything. It seems like maybe she has some kind of ability where she was able to see that, and that's so, I mean, that's so frustrating and unfortunate that, like, you could see something horrible happening to someone you care about so much and then it happens in real life, and it's like you've lived it so many times. And I definitely feel for her. I mean, this whole story is incredibly sad. I don't think necessarily the Divic box brought this thing on to him. Maybe somehow the Divic box, if that's in fact what it was, kind of cursed her into being able to see this for however long ahead of time in her dreams and having to deal with the pain of having this dream. Obviously, even if it never actually came to fruition, that dream in itself is horrifying. I've had plenty of dreams where family members have passed or something bad's happened to them, and you wake up and you have that feeling, like that just sick feeling, like as if it actually happened, because I mean, it feels so real for a second. So maybe if it was a Divic box, it was some kind of like curse on her that she was, I hate to say it, but like doomed to witness this in advance and know it was coming, and then it actually happened. In no way do I think she caused it, or, you know, necessarily could have stopped it. I mean, how do you even do that? It's not like you can tell him he can never drive again or something like that. It's absolutely not her fault, but, you know, if there was any kind of weird thing that coincided between the potential Divic box and this unfortunate situation where it seems like she was able to predict it through her dreams, I think if anything, maybe the Divic box gave her that ability to, I don't know, make her miserable. There's definitely some kind of, you know, paranormal or spiritual thing going on here with her visions before the accident happened, but I guess we'll truly never know. It's really a sad situation. Our next TikTok is by the user grace.mitscherlich.
There is a very real vampire society living among us in plain sight. I actually have some exclusive insider information to add to Light Paladin's video. It first mentioned how Playboy Cardi started dressing and acting like a vampire when he released the song Vamp Anthem, and how this is not a coincidence. This also wasn't a phase, like it's a signal you could choose to become a vampire. There are people in every major city, especially in like the fashion, the art, the music industry, who practice blood rituals, who literally alter their DNA to evolve beyond human, like in order to become something else. He explains that he's seen it himself. He lives in a very major metro city, so do I live in New York, and he's been inside the scene. It's exactly like Blade, or like one of those gritty 2000s vampire movies where it's underground clubs, red lighting, no mirror, people whisper in Latin, and he's not exaggerating. Don't even get me started on the fashion industry. Some of these runway shows are rituals disguised as art. I went to one last year and we couldn't have cameras, we couldn't have anything like that. We were just there to like take it all in. And at the event, they made everyone wear these like red veils. The lights were then dimmed to near darkness. And then the floor that the models were walking on was kind of like a mirror. And it looked like this mirror was drenched in blood. And then like one model bit the other one on the neck. People clapped like it was some sort of like edgy performance art. But like, I'm telling you, it felt real. But of course, this is just a story for entertainment purposes. There was also a show in Paris that I only heard about where there wasn't a guest list. Like, and this is for entertainment purposes. This is all just like fun and pretend. You would have to bleed to get in. The designer never gave interviews, and people say that she hasn't aged for like 20 years. And that is the thing about these vampires. They don't age, guys. Like, wow, they got work done seemingly out of nowhere. Very quick recovery. Megan Fox has also openly discussed how she and MGK admit that they drink each other's blood. Remember, all of this is a conspiracy theory. It's just for entertainment purposes. Don't take anything I say as fact. But these nightclubs are like entry points. They're kind of like a testing ground, and the more elite the club, the closer you get to the inner circle. And there's a certain level where you're not just partying, you're in like a different dimension. And there are allegedly people in these circles that don't even blink, and they speak in riddles. There's actually a rave in Brooklyn that happens every equinox that has no phones allowed. And you'll hear about it once and then never find it again. And people vanish for days afterward. And then the people who return are all a bit different. I'm not saying to like go look for it. I'm saying that like it's already around you. And if you haven't been invited, you might at some point. This is just a spooky story. It's just a little conspiracy theory just for entertainment purposes. This is not fact. I am not saying that any of this is real or true.
I feel like we've kind of talked about this a few times before, and I do think it is possible. I mean, you know, vampires are afraid of the sun, so it would make perfect sense they'd be an industry that happens in the nighttime. It's also very dark in nightclubs. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really a fan of nightclubs because it's dark and loud and it's just a little overwhelming. I do like Vegas nightclubs. Actually, the one that she's showing the beginning here is Omnia at Vegas. I do like Vegas nightclubs when you have a table or you're behind the DJ or something. But other than that, I'm not a nightclub person. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. So apparently I'm not a vampire. But it makes perfect sense to me that vampires would be a part of that life. I mean, I've said before, I believe that vampires absolutely can exist. I think werewolves can exist. I think anything can exist. The world is way too big for there to not be potentially things like that. I don't have proof. I'm not saying 100% they do exist. I think the possibility, I think it's 100% possible that they could exist though. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, it makes perfect sense that vampires would run the nightclub scene to me. Our next TikTok's by the user Kimberly19777.
I'm back with another paranormal story from my past. Okay, this story, I'm a Gen Xer, and I was born in 1977, which makes me 47 years old now. But when I was little, I was 4 years old, and my family and we lived out in a city called Edgerton. It's here in Kansas, and it was often in the country. It was just like a normal run-of-the-mill house out on acreage. There was a pond, you know, all the fancy things that come with living out in the country. And when I was about 4 years old, we were enrolled in Sunday school, me and my sisters were, and that's something that we were highly involved with when we were growing up. We were raised Southern Baptist, and my mom always made sure that we went to church on Sundays, and we did Sunday school. We did all the things back when we were kids. So we had vacation Bible school. It was during the summertime, and our car had broke down. It was a hunk of junk. That car, it seemed like it broke down all the time, and it wasn't even very old. I think this happened in probably 81-ish, around there, and the car was like a 78 probably. Well, my mom, we lived a little further out in the country than what would be walking distance for me. I wouldn't have ever taken my kids, I had just been like, you're not going to vacation Bible school this time, we're going to skip it, maybe tomorrow the car will be fixed and we can drive you. Well, my mom decided to walk us because she was that religious back then. She made sure we were going to church if we liked it or not. Even though they didn't go, they stayed home and we went to church. Well, anyway, my mom was walking us up into where the church was located, which was in the center of town back then. And now it's on the outside of town. It's even further away from where we used to live. But, so my dad, he stayed home while my mom was walking us. And from what I remember my mom telling me, we've talked about this over and over and over again, because like I said, ever since I was a child, paranormal stuff and scary stuff and ghost stuff and spirit stuff has been happening to me. But my dad, he said that he felt something evil in the house as soon as we left. He said that he felt like there was something in there. And, you know, my oldest sister, she had had things happen to her in that same house. And my parents would blow it off as, you know, she's having nightmares. And I've been locked in rooms in that house. I would go in there to play while my sister was in kindergarten, waiting for her to come home. And, you know, I would go to leave, and the latch on the outside of the door, because it had like an actual, like, I don't know what the hell kind of shit went on in that house before we moved in, but there was a latch on the bedroom door on the outside. And I kept getting locked in there, and we would tell mom and dad, you know, this stuff is happening, and they would just be like kids being kids or whatever, blow it off. Well, while we were on our trip to get to church, that for Vacation Bible School, my dad had said, with all this evil presence feeling, like, he said that he felt like a breeze in the house. And then back in the day, and if you are a Gen Xer, you'll remember your parents having these probably if they were religious at all. But my mom had a set of praying hands on the wall. They were like, they looked brass. I'm sure they were probably brass. And my dad said that those praying hands spun in circles and then flew off the wall. And he couldn't explain it. He couldn't explain why that happened. But that's one of the stories that happened there, amongst several others, such as my sister Jessie sleeping and having something grab a hold of her leg and try to pull her. And I had a thing for my sister, because when we would swim in the pond a lot. I mean, that, like I said, it was part of the fun of growing up out in the country. And we were out there swimming, and after her waking up every night saying something's grabbing my leg or rubbing my leg, my parents took us out swimming, and something had grabbed a hold of her leg and pulled her under. And I remember my dad like swimming and trying to like get a hold of her and yank her, and he said something just had a hold of her really tight and wouldn't let go. And he finally was able to get her free. But yeah, that house was pretty creepy. We don't know, like, I've never investigated. There's still a house out there, and, you know, I've not gone and talked to people there or anything, and I don't wish to. I'm sure that it's probably the property that was haunted, considering the location and everything. And I ended up growing up in a farmhouse that was further down the road, and we would find, like, Civil War artifacts and such in the yard, and people would go out with their metal detectors. Like, people in the community would ask if they can come out and look for those artifacts, and they found quite a few, actually. They found some pretty cool stuff out there. But yeah, it's just been an ongoing thing for us. It's just a theme, like, we are a haunted family, I guess. But yeah, that was just a fun story, or a creepy story, because we don't know. And that scared my dad bad enough that he got his ass out that door and worked on that car and got it fixed by the time Vacation Bible School was ready to release, because he was there with the car. I remember my mom getting us in the car, and my dad like freaking out, telling us this happened. And mom was like, "Are you drunk?" And he's like, "I'm not drunk, Jeanette. This literally happened." But yeah, we had some crazy things happen there. That's all.
I went to Vacation Bible School as a kid. I mean, it was a Catholic Vacation Bible School, so it was probably different from what she's talking about, but honestly, I had the time of my life. It was truly a thrill a minute. I was really bummed once I wasn't able to go anymore. It was like, I think it was like preschool through 5th grade. I truly had so much fun there. But that's besides the point. I mean, it is true dedication that her mom was willing to walk that far to like get them there so they wouldn't miss a day. I was gonna say I don't think my mom would have done that. However, our church was like literally 2 blocks away, so probably would have done that. But if it was like miles, like she's saying, there's no way my mom would have done that. She'd be like, "We'll try again tomorrow." And I probably would have been the one to be bummed, because again, I loved Vacation Bible School as a kid. The fact that her dad fixed the car and was there to pick them up by the end, because he needed to get out of the car, because he couldn't be in the house by himself. He needed to get out of the house. He needed to fix the car, and he was like, "I need to go pick them up because I am not going to be in this house by myself." I feel like it says a lot when there's like when a man is willing to admit that he's scared and needs to get out of the house, because I feel like men have a lot of issues with being vulnerable and admitting when they're scared. So what something scares them enough to be like, I need to get out of here, and you're like telling your kids and your wife how scared you are because of a ghost, that really says a lot in my opinion. Our next two TikToks are the user cyntheticss.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first. When I was 8.
So I have two. One actually happened to me, and then another happened to my cousin years ago, and their story is much more creepy, demonic, scary bedtime story, but I'll tell mine because that's my actual account. So backstory is that my parents, right before COVID, had bought a new home, and the story behind this home is that it had been built by a woman and her husband. It was a custom build, and it was the woman's dream home, and she was a talented artist. So she had painted a portrait of the front of the home, the front of the house, the landscaping. It was beautiful. Sadly, that couple died in a plane crash, so the house ended up going to the woman's mother. Obviously, the house had a lot of sentimental value to the mother. She didn't want to sell it, but my parents come from a very small community where kind of everyone knows everyone, or you get to know everyone. And because my parents had a prior relationship with this woman and she knew my parents were good people, after a while she was willing to sell the home to my parents. And this was right before COVID, and then in the middle of COVID and slightly after COVID, my parents strengthened the bond with this woman, and she's obviously an elderly woman, very up there in age. So my parents would check on her, they'd bring her stuff, my mom would bring her flowers, she'd send baked goods home to my parents. They had a very good relationship. They still have. That woman's fine. She's not dead. And over time, as a, I guess, anniversary present for moving into the home, that woman gifted my parents the portrait that her daughter had painted of the house itself. That portrait is still hung up in the walkway going into the living room downstairs. Now, this is going to be the winter of 2022. This is my first time back in the house since that portrait has gone up. And I, at the time, it's like 2 or 3 a.m., I'm laying in bed, and the layout of my room, my bed is pressed against the back wall, and from the foot of the bed forward, I can see the doorway, and when the doorway is open, I can see the stairwell that walks down into the first floor. Like, I can see the drop-off of the stairwell. And when I'm at home, I normally leave my door open at night because my parents have a cat. I like when the cat comes and sleeps with me, I leave the door open as an invitation to the cat. I'm laying in bed, pressed up against the pillows, scrolling on TikTok. My phone is directly in front of my face, and of course I have my peripheral vision on either side of my phone, and right on this side, right beside my phone case, I can see the open doorway leading out into the stairwell. Scrolling on my phone, all of a sudden, I see a tall, blonde woman, as clear as day, not any transparent entity, a tall, blonde woman walk past my field of vision, going past my doorway into like the other hallway. My heart immediately sinks into my stomach. There are only 2 women in that home, me and my mother, who is a short redhead. That blonde woman is not my mom. I'm having a panic attack because my first thought is, oh my God, someone has been living upstairs in my parents' home and they have no idea. So I'm freaking out. Luckily, my mom has an elderly Yorkie that she has to let out in the middle of the night because elderly doggy needs to go out. And I hear my mom downstairs fumbling with the back door. So I immediately jump out of bed and I run into the hallway, and we have a banister that looks over from the second floor into the living room where my mom is standing. And I'm like, oh my God, Mom, I saw someone upstairs. And my mom's like very groggy. She just woke up to let her dog out. She's like, what did you say? And I told her, I saw a tall blonde woman walk past my doorway upstairs. And I'm clearly in a panic. My mother is not a care in the world. One important thing about my mom is that my mom has seen and heard spirits her entire life. My mom is actually a death clairvoyant. There have been many times in my lifetime that my mom has woken up in a cold sweat out of a dead sleep, knowing immediately that someone has died or has been fatally injured in our family, and she knows exactly who it is at the time. So my mom has a very live and let live policy when it comes to ghosts. They don't bother her and she doesn't bother them. So my mom just looks at me and I'm having a panic attack, and she says, just go to bed. We'll talk about it tomorrow. And I do, because at that moment, knowing how calm my mom is, the idea that a tall blonde woman is somewhere in her home doesn't bother her at all. Knowing my mom, I'm like, okay, there's a reason for it. Maybe I didn't see what I thought I saw. So I go back to my room, I shut the door, and I like put my covers over my head because if I can't see the ghost can't see me, and I eventually fell asleep after 2 to 3 hours. Next day, we're in the drive-thru at Dunkin' Donuts, and my mom finally looks at me and she's like, "Oh, hey, what happened last night? You were really freaked out." And I told her the story that I just told you guys. I was scrolling on my phone, tall blonde woman walks past the doorway just as clear as day. I could see the texture of her hair, I could see the side profile of her face. I saw a woman, and my mom grabs her phone and she scrolls through the messages that she has with the woman who sold her the home, and she pulls up a photo of the exact blonde woman that I saw that night, that very last night, and she's like, "Was this her?" And I said yes. And that was the deceased woman who had the home custom built with her husband before they eventually passed away. And my mom said, "Yeah, I've been seeing her for months now. Ever since we brought the portrait into the house, I've been seeing and hearing her. She seems nice. It's technically her home. She doesn't bother me. I don't bother her. So your dad hasn't seen her, so everything's fine." And yeah, so my mother is coexisting with a ghost that my mom believes still technically owns the home. My dad has never seen this ghost. And this is the first time that I have ever seen a ghost. I've heard spirits throughout my life, but I've never physically seen one. So this one definitely took me by surprise. But yeah, that's my story. My cousin's story, once again, is much more like a scary bedtime story, but he swore until the day that he died that it happened, and I have no reason to not believe that, so I can definitely tell that one too. So part 2 of creepy ghost stories that have either happened to me or someone in my family. I do have to say this one is darker and a lot more creepier than the one I previously told about myself and my own experience. This is one of my favorite ghost stories from my family because it is so creepy and weird. I do have to preface by saying this is not a first-hand account from me. This happened in the 60s, long before I was born. My mother was born at the time. She was a young girl when this happened. So she remembers the people who are involved in this story. And then the cousin that this actually happened to, he told this story until the day that he died with no deviation in the details whatsoever. And given my mother's side of the family and their history of seeing, feeling, or experiencing the supernatural in some way, I have no reason to not believe this story, especially because the details have not changed in any iteration of which I've heard this story, anyone telling it. And yeah, so set the stage. 60s backwoods rural farmland in North Carolina, and that is important because I do know in the 60s most homes had electricity, running water, lights, maybe a phone line. I'm not sure about AC, so I'm going to leave that out. But it is important to note that in this particular house that I'm telling the story, none of those were a feature. And this house that I'm telling the story about, what makes it so special and probably double haunted is that it is a family home that is right next to our family cemetery. We still use our family cemetery to this day. It's on a plot of land that my mom's family owns, and the house is normally lived in and owned and ran by someone, an older member of my mom's family, who takes a lot of pride in taking care of the family cemetery. They make sure all the gravestones are clean, they make sure the lawn is well manicured, and then when someone else passes away, they prepare everything on the land for someone else to be buried. So there's almost always someone living in that house right next to the cemetery, and that is where this story takes place. Late 60s, I had a cousin who passed away, and every account I have ever heard of this individual can be summed up in they were the spawn of Satan. This man was one of the worst people you could ever be unlucky to meet in your entire life. So when he passed away, it wasn't really a big hoopla. No one was crying about it. But he was still family, so he had a right to the family cemetery. He already had a plot of land picked out. So he died, the body went to the morgue, and another thing that happened in my family at the time, and I don't think this was as much a tradition as it was saving money. So when the body was taken to the morgue and it was embalmed and put into a coffin, rather than having a hearse and a funeral progression, someone from the family, normally the person that lived in the cemetery house, would go pick up the coffin the night before the funeral, and they would take the coffin home, put the coffin in the entryway of their house, and then the next day, when the whole family got up the next day, they would all meet at the cemetery and bury the body like that. So there was no hearse, there was no funeral progression. It was just take the coffin from the morgue to the house, wait a day, bury it the next day. So once again, the guy passes away, terrible human being, and late 60s, no power, no AC. So at the time, this house was lit by candlelight, and there is a dead body sitting in a casket, granted, but sitting in the middle of the home. You don't want to accidentally be smelling that. I know nothing about bodies in the embalming process, but I do know the windows were normally left up during a situation like this, which is also important for this story. The living cousin that lives in the home at the time, which is the one who told the story until his death, was getting ready to go to bed. It's probably about 9 to 10 p.m., getting ready for the funeral the next day, making sure everything's in order in the house. And this house had not a wraparound porch, but kind of a quarter wraparound where it went around the front angles of the house and then met in the middle. So it had a really wide porch at the front, and this cousin says that as he was getting ready to go to bed, he heard the footsteps of a grown, heavy man walking across the porch. There is no phone line in this house, so there is no way for a potential cousin, brother, aunt, whatever, to call this family member and be like, hey, I'm bringing something over for the funeral tomorrow. Hey, I'm going to come drop by. Plus, it's 9 to 10 p.m. in the 60s, back roads. It would be weird for someone to be visiting anyway, but the cousin did think it was a family member, so he called out to them, did not receive a response. Called out again, didn't receive a response. All he heard was the footsteps coming around the long porch leading to the front door. He's reasonably very frightened by the fact that the person that he thought was a family member did not call back to him or say anything to give a warning that they were there. So he goes and starts walking towards the front to open the door. Before he gets there, a large black animal jumps through the window. And the way that he tells this story, it was too large to be a cat, too nimble to be a raccoon, was definitely not a dog, and it wasn't a fox. Whatever it was, it jumped through the window, and the way he tells it, it did not react the way a wild animal should. It didn't react the way a wild animal would, jumping into a place, seeing a human, getting spooked, and running away. This animal jumped through the window, did not pay my living cousin a single mind in the world. Walked right past him, didn't even look his way, made no sound, no hiss, no meow, no bark, no growl, nothing. Walked past him, jumped onto the coffin, walked back and forth, and then sat down at the head of the coffin where this terrible cousin's head would have been, and just looked down. And my cousin said that in this moment, every hair on his body was standing upright. He was deeply uncomfortable to the point that he could not move, and his heart was sitting in his stomach. And that animal sat on that coffin for maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Still no sound, still not acknowledging my living cousin at all. Jumped off the coffin, walked past my living cousin again, paying him no mind. Jumped back through the window, and then the footsteps of a large man walked away from the front door, walked off the porch. Not a single sound after that. And I have heard this story a bunch of times. The cousin who witnessed that, like I said, no deviation in the details for as long as he lived. And every family member that I have, because my mother's side of the family are deeply Baptist, all of them agree that that was the devil coming to collect this man's soul. That is how terrible of a person that individual is. So yeah, I kind of get goosebumps still telling that story, but it is one of my favorite family ghost stories. So yep, there you go. That's the creepy one.
I love this because it's like her mom is aware that this woman's here, but she knows who she is, and she knows that she's not a threat, so she's just kind of like, nah, it's fine, and moves along with it. And then she's so chill about her daughter saying that she saw a woman upstairs. She's like, go back to bed, it's fine. I would have had a hard time, but like she said though, if my mom's so just like chill and is like, it's fine, like, okay. And then I trust my mom, and I'd probably find a way to get back to bed. But I love this. She says that like her mom is able to kind of see things. Her mom's like slightly psychic and, in tune with things. But this is her first ghost sighting, and I feel like it's kind of nice because it's not something dangerous or scary. It's, it's a harmless woman who loved the house that she built and unfortunately passed. But it is to me, it's just kind of a funny story. But I do think it's nice that she came with the portrait that she painted of this house. As for the second story, oh my god, I feel like it is too much of a coincidence to not be something like literally the devil coming to collect him. I mean, that's a crazy statement to make. I mean, I don't know, it's too perfect. And the fact that it's like an animal he sees, but he hears the footsteps of like a grown adult walking to and from the window. Oh my god. Like, I think it is genuinely probably one of my favorite stories I've heard. It's too good. It's a phenomenal story. And it has all the perfect details too of like, this guy is living on a family cemetery and he has, you know, his family member, but like a body in a casket in his living room waiting for the funeral. Oh my god. Like, just the perfect details. It's just all the perfect aspects of a spooky story. It's phenomenal. And to know that like this guy swears up and down that this happened to him, it makes it all the better. But also, for some reason, this makes me want to have like a family cemetery. Although I don't think I could get my parents on board with that. I mean, having to move people would be not a task that I'd want to have to do, which is a completely weird sidebar, but yeah. I do like the idea of a family cemetery. I'm like, I want to be with all like my favorite people forever. Anyway, moving on. Our final TikTok of the video is with user Ghosts in the Castle.
You should never, ever, ever disregard what Native Americans say when they say do not talk about skinwalkers. I didn't think they were really a thing, you know, but I was wrong, okay? Back in 2017, I had to do a 4-day turnaround drive from Las Vegas to Houston with my ex for the holidays. We drove through New Mexico on our way back, and this was our longest drive. It was a 13-hour drive from Houston to Albuquerque. We had to get to Albuquerque on the third or fourth night so we can have a 5 or 6 hour day back to Vegas. Anyways, we liked listening to Native American horror stories. We were both Native. And this shook me. Like, I don't even like talking about this story, but I'm telling you guys, this shit happened and it fucking frightened me. We were driving about 50 to 55 miles per hour on these roads. If you've ever been out in New Mexico and you've driven between the cities and you're just in bumfuck middle of nowhere at night, you cannot see 5 feet in front of you to your, like if you're looking out the window. You can't see anything behind you, and anything that's not directly in front of your headlights, you're not going to see it. Anything that's even a couple feet out from your headlights, very difficult to see. Minimum visibility. The darkness out there was thick, heavy. Okay? So we were listening to skinwalker stories like on the compilation, and if you know anything about them, they like playing tricks on you. They come when someone's talking about them, and they can keep up with your car until about 60 to 65 miles per hour, and then they don't keep up anymore. We were going 50 to 55 because we were worried about black ice. It was very icy out there in New Mexico. All of a sudden, I get this pit of despair in my stomach. I'm talking total dread came over my body in an instant, as if a wave of energy just came over me. It was so bad. I was in the passenger seat, she was driving. I turn around because I legitimately thought something was in our car behind us. And my ex-wife looked at me. She was asking me what the fuck I was doing. I was like, I don't know. I just got this horrible feeling out of nowhere. And just as I was telling her that, we hear over and over and over again on our car. I asked her, I said, did you hit anything? I'm looking around. She's looking around. She's like, no, there was nothing in front of us on this road. The car hasn't made sounds at all. We've been driving for hours. And then it kept getting louder. At this point, we were freaking out. I said, you need to drive and drive fast. And she just, okay. And we hit about 75, 80 miles per hour, and we didn't care at that point if we hit black ice. We were both scared. What the fuck was hitting our car? We couldn't see anything, but we knew something was wrong. And once we got past that point where it said, like, once you pass about 60 miles an hour, they can't really keep up with you anymore. And we drove like that all the way to Albuquerque. Did not stop at all. We never listened to Skinwalker stories again. Never again. Ever. I don't listen to them now. I don't like talking about this experience. But something out there heard us, came to our car, and terrified the fuck out of us. So if you're out there in New Mexico or in Arizona or any part of any reservation or any part that has Native American land and Native American history, do not even play those stories. Especially late at night when it's only you by yourself.
My goodness. I would like absolutely pee my pants. I would be so scared. Out in the middle of the desert, driving, and there's something banging on your car as you're listening to stories about skinwalkers. Personally, I don't think I would be listening to spooky stories as I'm driving through the middle of the desert at night, but that's just me. Hey, I'm not here to judge because, you know, I like this stuff too, but that's just a little bit too far for me. It absolutely was some kind of either skinwalker or entity or something that was being like, hey, I'm here, just checking in. Like, I think that it purposely was just to like scare them, to freak them out. And maybe even prove a point. I don't know, I'd be freaking out for sure. But that just tells me that anytime, I mean, my desert driving days are probably over. This would have been helpful information to know back when I was driving to Vegas like once a month. But in case I'm ever driving through the desert again, I will not go below 60. I'll keep it around like 70. Although, when you're driving to Vegas and there's no one around you, I find myself being like 102 because I'm like, when there's nothing around, it's like, God, I just gotta get out of here. Like, I need to get to civilization again. And I'd just like kind of space out a little bit and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going 102 right now. I think that's the fastest I've ever driven. But yeah. Word of advice, I guess, since I may not need to use it, if you're driving in the desert, stick around at least 70 miles an hour if it's dark and you're driving through the desert. That is all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know which TikTok was your favorite. Please tag me in any TikToks you want to see me include in a future video. My username is @theAbbeyStorymeyer on TikTok, and all of the usernames of the creators that were in this video are linked down below. While you're at it, please check out my Instagram and TikTok where I post spooky special effects makeup content. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I'll pop a couple of videos just on the screen for you to watch next. Please click the subscribe button down below and turn post notifications so you never miss a video. I post Sundays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. And as always, again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time. Bye.